Friday and welcome to the DAN Show. I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the Dan Show, and welcome to my breakdown of the Green Bay Packers. Now, if you're new to my channel, I've got one simple question for you. Do you want to talk football? Because if so, you're in the right place. Now, there's this button right around here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Now, here's how my breakdown of the Green Bay Packers is going to go. I'm going to talk about what I like about the Packers. Then I'm going to talk about what I don't like about the Packers, but stick around to the very end where I break down the Vegas over-under. And if I am putting action down on the Packers, say, hey, let's kick this off with what I like about the Green Bay Packers. The most obvious thing should be Aaron Rodgers. I've said this many times that at his best, I've never seen a quarterback play better. The ceiling for Aaron Rodgers is maybe higher than any ceiling of any quarterback that ever played a game. There's a lot of things I could talk about Aaron Rodgers, but the one thing I'm going to kind of throw out there is that some people thought he had a down year, 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I raved about Lamar Jackson, who led the NFL 36 touchdowns. He only had 6 interceptions, a 6-to-1 ratio. Well, this is 6.5 to 1. His lifetime interception ratio is 1.4. So here's a guy who throws the ball a lot. And he's always thrown the ball quite a bit in his NFL career, but he very rarely gets picked off. Matter of fact, the last 2 years, Aaron Rodgers has thrown a total of 1,166 passes. 6 interceptions. 6. That's an interception ratio of 0.51. The last 2 years, he's had 51 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So people rave about otherworldly being 5 or 6. Well, his is 8.5 to 1 touchdowns, interceptions. So here's a quarterback who had a bad year, 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The one thing about Aaron Rodgers is that he very rarely turns the ball over. I mean, hardly ever. I mean, he's thrown 6,061 passes and has 84 interceptions in his entire career. All right? I mean, 181 games, 84 interceptions. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? A matter of fact, the last 9 seasons, he's had single-digit interceptions. So, I mean, I could sit here, I could probably go for an hour of how good Aaron Rodgers is, but I think I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. You have a quarterback who at his best is as good as anybody who's really ever played the game. So, you know, Aaron Rodgers, Packers, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got a chance to win against anybody. That's just the truth. Second thing I like about the Green Bay Packers is the defensive improvements. They went from 22nd in scoring in 2018 to 9th in 2019, and 2 of the big reasons were Preston and Zadarius Smith. I'm butchering the name. I'm sorry, man. It's actually funny. Justin Gamble at Game Scout, GAMSCOT. I'm going to put the link below. On Twitter, we had a little back and forth about Zadarius Smith. He hit me up. He's like, is he elite? And I responded, I mean, what's elite? And he's like, that's for you to figure out. And I said, me, no. It's like, why not? And I started thinking about it. He had 13.5 sacks. He made the Pro Bowl. And, I consider Khalil Mack for the Bears. I consider him elite. He had 8. Zadarius Smith had 13.5. He went to a bad defense, made him a great defense. Khalil Mack goes to a good defense, makes him really good. I mean, so it's an interesting thing. Zadarius Smith, is he elite? He went to a Pro Bowl, 13.5 sacks. The 2 Smiths that they added in free agency, a total of 25.5 sacks. So, and here's another thing about the Packers defense. Not one starter is over 27. Zadarius and Preston Smith will turn 28 next year, but this is a very young defense. So, I mean, you have an athletic, young, really good defense that's probably going to be better next year. They did lose some players. I'm going to talk about that here in just a bit, but I mean, that's pretty impressive there. Third thing I like about the Packers is Aaron Jones. For some idiotic reason, he didn't go to a Pro Bowl. He had 1,558 total yards and 19 touchdowns. How that doesn't get you a Pro Bowl nod is beyond me. He's going into his fourth year. I think he's one of the better running backs in the National Football League. Why most people don't look at him that way is beyond me. He does it all, running, receiving, second leading receiver on the team. Also had 1,000 yards on the ground. So to me, that's very impressive. So I'm just going to recap this. The three big things I like about the Green Bay Packers. You have Aaron Rodgers, who at his best is as good as anybody who's ever played the game. That's a big, bold statement. I'm aware of that. He's that good. The defensive improvements from 2018 to 2019. This is a young, very good defense that could be better in 2020. And third is Aaron Jones going into his fourth year. He's improved every single year. Last year he should have made a Pro Bowl. 19 touchdowns, 1,558 yards. He'll go in 2020. So now let's talk about what I don't like about the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to start with the draft because I hated the Packers draft. This is a terrible draft. Now, I was not high on Jordan Love to begin with. I watched two of his games and both were blowout losses, and I was not impressed with what I saw. I saw a very raw quarterback, and I get why teams like him. I get the upside, but I didn't get it for Green Bay. And it was funny, my first mock draft with Green Bay, I had them taking Eason, a player I liked more than Love. And I said, reason why you want to take a guy late in the first, you get that fifth-year option. That way, because Rodgers' contract, the way it works is like basically he's got to stay in Green Bay for another 2 years. So groom him behind Rodgers for 2 years, maybe. But I went against it because there were so many other players, and I'm going to get to that here in a bit, but you trade up for a guy who ideally doesn't even play. You are in the NFC Championship game. You're one game away from a Super Bowl against a team you beat in the regular season, of course without Mahomes, but still, you're one game away from the Super Bowl, and you take a guy who not going to help you at all. And if he does get on the field, it's because Aaron Rodgers, who is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, is not playing. Dumb. But here's the thing, I might understand it at 30. I didn't understand trading up for him. And the reason why is that pick, the 136th pick in the draft was for Brycen Hopkins, a player who was ranked higher than your third-round tight end, who's more of an H-back. The NFL Network gave him a 6th-round grade. Matter of fact, I'm looking at the tight ends that was drafted after Hunter Bryant, who wasn't even drafted. I had a 3rd-round grade on him. Thaddeus Moss. You're going to tell me you're not going to take Randy Moss's kid? Actually, kind of like Jared Pinkney. Brycen Hopkins, already mentioned him. Dalton Keene, Virginia Tech. I liked him a little better, but anyway. Albert O. I'm going to say Albert O. I can't pronounce his name. Tight end out of MU, ran a 4.49. He was chosen afterwards. Colby Parkinson, a guy who I would have liked in Green Bay more. He was available in the 4th round. Adam Troutman, a guy I'd rated higher. He was available in the 3rd round. Harrison Bryant, the NFL Network 2nd-rated tight end, went in the 4th round. All these guys would have been better fits. Now, he's going to be an H-back, fullback, tight end / and then in the 2nd round, you take A.J. Dillon. A guy had a 4th-round grade on. The NFL Network had 3rd, 4th-round grade on him. And here's a guy who's about 250. Now, he ran a 4.53, so the size-speed ratio is very impressive. And I heard Derrick Henry comparisons. No. Stop. Bad. He's not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry dominated the SEC, won Heisman. This guy did good in the ACC. I would have thought that maybe for a different team he would be decent. For no team he should be drafted in the first 2 rounds. So here's the deal. I talked about how much I liked Aaron Jones. Then you draft a running back in the 2nd round who everybody else had in the 3rd or 4th round. I had him in the 4th. Most people at the NFL Network. I'm using the NFL Network. 3rd, 4th round. Okay. Here's a guy who's a big guy, great size speed combination. Doesn't belong in the 2nd round, but you already got Pro Bowl running back. Take a tight end who the NFL Network had a 6th round grade on. There's a bunch of tight ends that were better that's available. And this is what's terrible about these draft picks is the second thing I don't like about Green Bay is you don't have a number 2 wide receiver. This was a great draft for wide receivers, and you got a good one in Davante Adams. He had 83 catches. Your second leading receiver was Aaron Jones, who I already talked about. He had 49. Your third leading wide receiver is the backup running back. Your 4th leading receiver is Jimmy Graham, who is 96 years old. 96, okay, I'm exaggerating, but he's gone. The next leading receiver is Alan Lazard, who was cut from Jacksonville. He had 35. This was the perfect draft to get a wide receiver, and you didn't do it. Of all the things that Green Bay needed this offseason was somebody to take a number 1 receiver, to take pressure off that number 1 wide receiver, Jeff, because it's a good one. Davante Adams is one of the best receivers in football. Here's how you beat Green Bay. You double cover Davante Adams, and then you can put 7 in the box. The reason why you're putting 7 in the box, apparently Green Bay wants to run the football. That's why you got a big running back in the 2nd round and an H-back in the 3rd round. Because apparently you don't want to run the ball anymore because you got Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever played. So let's not run the ball as much. It doesn't make any damn sense. Yeah, the way you drafted and the way that you didn't get a number 1 wide receiver leads me to think that you're just going to run the ball and depend on your defense, which leads me to the 3rd thing I don't like is that there's still holes on this defense. This was kind of strange because they were 9th in scoring, but they gave up the 18th most yards. They were 23rd in rushing yards allowed and 24th in yards per carry. It's 4.7. And I did Uber a little bit, and I gave some Green Bay Packers fans a Uber ride. Dude, Packers fans, by the way, are great. So I got to throw that out there. Anyway, we were talking. These guys know their stuff. So we talked about draft. And I mentioned my YouTube channel. Hopefully they'll subscribe. But they said, I said, here's the thing. I don't think they have a top 10 defense. And they said this. Now, they were drinking, of course. I mean, hey, let's face it. They like beer. Nothing wrong with that. They were serious, though, when they said this. No, we don't have a top 10 defense. We have a top 5 defense. Oh, whoa, slow down. Yeah, they actually think they have a top 5 defense. And no, they do not. I don't think they have a top 10 defense. Yes, they were 9th in points, but they're 18th in yards. Bottom line, even though this is a young, improving defense, they're not a type of defense that can just shut you down. All right. I mean, they're not the type of defense that, hey, we score 21 points, we're done. They don't have that good of a defense. So that's what kind of worried me. You know, if I'm Green Bay, what I would have done is I would have got a receiver to help Davante Adams. Then if you wanted to get a running back, Zach Moss is available. I mean, I could go through, there's about 50 players who I would have drafted in the 2nd or 3rd rounds instead of these guys that could help this year in a better capacity. But it really gives me an impression that you're going away from Aaron Rodgers. You drafted a guy to spell Aaron Jones, who should be in the Pro Bowl with 19 touchdowns last year. But your second best player, I could argue second best player. You don't say it's Darius Smith or Kenny Smith on defense. Okay, fine. I get that. But Davante Adams was targeted 127 times last year. He played in 12 games. That's 10.5 times a game. Do you realize how ridiculously high of a number that is? But you don't want to get another receiver? I didn't put this as one of the reasons, but I really question the kind of the direction Packers are going with these 3 things, because just to recap, their draft made no sense to me. This is not a good draft. Granted, I was a lot lower on Jordan Love than almost everybody. I didn't think he was a first round quarterback. But if you are going to draft him in the first round, don't draft him when you got one of the best quarterbacks to ever live who's playing at high level and you're one game away from the Super Bowl. If there was a team that traded back in the second round, like the Indianapolis Colts, for example, and they got Jacob Eason. I like Eason better. Eason was in the fourth round. You traded up for Love in the first. Okay, there you go. So the draft was bad. That you didn't get a wide receiver or a tight end, and don't give me that this guy you drafted in the third round is going to be your starting tight end. You're going to roll out Mercedes Lewis. Mercedes Lewis is 112 years old. That's a fact. Okay, I'm joking, but I mean, come on. And then you still have holes on defense. I mean, if you would have drafted a player who could help out, or you would have added another big name free agent, you did lose some players. Blake Martinez led your team in tackles by a significant amount. He's in New York. Yeah, you got Kinsley from Cleveland, but Cleveland also upgraded. So, I mean, when if you used that pick on a middle linebacker? And then you could have maybe, or why? Let me ask you this here, Packers fans, would you have been mad if you gave up a second round pick and Aaron Jones for DeAndre Hopkins? That could have happened. I wouldn't advise giving up 1 million draft picks like Buffalo did for Diggs, but I would have liked it, for him to play against Minnesota. But anyway, I did not like a lot of what the Packers did during the draft and the offseason. And I think that what they're doing is planning on their defense, thinking that they got this great defense and trying to move on from Rodgers, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. But hey, what did I say? Wait till the very end where I would talk about the Vegas over-under, and if I'm putting action down on the Packers. The over-under is 9.5, and the over is plus 110. So if you wager $100, you will win 110. If you take the under, you have to wager, it's negative 130. So you have to wager $130 to win 100. This schedule's tough, guys. I mean, this is a tough schedule. They have a bye week 5, so it's a bad time for a bye. I think byes late towards the end of the season are better than the beginning of the season. You play 4 games and you get a bye. If you take the over, you need a fast start. Okay? At Minnesota, home against Detroit, at the Saints, home against Atlanta on a Monday night. You got to win both those home games and split. And I don't see you splitting the road games. I don't, but you would need to. The next 4 games are equally as brutal. At Tampa Bay, at Houston, home against Minnesota, at San Francisco. You get a home game against Jacksonville, at the Colts, home against Chicago and Philly, at Detroit, which needs to be a win, home against Carolina, home against Tennessee, and at Chicago. I don't see 10 wins here. I just don't. They're plus 150 to win the North. I actually like Minnesota, so I know a lot of Packers fans are going to give me the thumbs down. But man, you went from a 6-win team to a 13-win team. The reality is you weren't really a normal 13-3 win team. To me, I really think the Packers are basically a 9-17, which the over-under is 9.5. So I think it's a good line. If this drops to 9, I still would avoid taking the. I'm not putting action on the Packers, but if I had to, I would take the under by a hair. But there's no way in hell I'm putting negative 130 to win 100 on a team with a good defense and one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. Bottom line, Aaron Rodgers can carry this team to 10 wins with the defense. Do I think he's going to do it? No, I don't. I think the Packers are probably one of the more entertaining teams to watch this year, but I think the big question is that since you draft Jordan Love, is where's Aaron Rodgers going to go either in 2021 or 2022? Because he's not going to end his career in Green Bay. You don't trade up in the first round and draft a quarterback when and try to keep your other quarterback there for the long term. So, the clock's ticking. So, hey, listen, enjoy your weekend. Monday's a good one. I'm going to break down the San Francisco 49ers and then Tuesday the Kansas City Chiefs. So, hey, listen, have a great weekend. I will see you Monday.